So today I'm going to walk you through our fully underwritten mortgage process. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'm a lender licensed in 48 states. My team's in 50, so we can help you across America. Here's the deal. Most lenders do not fully underwrite pre-approvals. It takes time, it takes money, and it takes people. And a lot of mortgage lenders have the attitude of, well, I'll do the work once they're definitely going to work with me. Whereas I've always approached it as a buyer, what would I want? And as a buyer, if I'm going to go shopping, I want to make sure I'm bulletproof. I want to make sure I know my payment. I want to make sure I know closing costs. I want to know that I am solid and there's not going to be any drama or problems before I put my money down on a house. I pay for inspections and I pay for an appraisal. And if you go to Reddit forums or pretty much anywhere online, one of the things you see a lot of is people have gotten a letter from a lender, they've gotten into contract, they've paid for all this stuff, and they've been declined, right? Why? 9 out of 10 times it's because the lender didn't do their homework up front, and we've eliminated that. So here's how our process works. And if you listen to this and you're like, this is my vibe, call us, fill out the application. Like, this is what we do every single day. It's a process. Yes, getting a pre-approval with me is not instant. No, I am not going to give you a pre-approval letter if I don't have documents. No, we are not going to cut corners and risk your money. Yes, we are going to make sure that you understand what you're paying, what your payments will be, and how to get to the finish line and make sure you're comfortable. Okay, so here's how it goes. Let's say that first you have questions. I would always say call the team, 786-933-2077. 7 days a week, I have a licensed loan officer, sometimes 2, 3, or 4, that will answer your questions. It's not a call center, guys. It's my team. My team, I am so crazy about who works with us. It's nuts. You know, Christina, does the weekends. Christina's been a licensed loan officer for 30 years. She's licensed in 50 states. You know, Sandy's been a loan officer for over 12 years, you know, licensed in over 20 states. Linda, 12 years, over 20 states. Amber, there's a lot of people, 12 years, over 20 states. You know, Alyssa, I think she's 6 years, tons of states. They know what they're talking about, okay? I would never have you guys call in and just talk to like an assistant that wasn't licensed. That's crazy to me. You know, you need real information. So 7 days a week, you can get on the calendar, you can call. We're happy to answer your questions. We're happy to help you plan. Whether it's 6 months from now or a year from now, we're there for you. Okay, let's say you're like, I filled out the application, now what? So I'll have a link to the application. I always like you to text us after you fill out the application. You can just say, hey, it's Jane Brown. I just filled out an application with you guys. The reason I want you to do that is I want to make sure we got it, because once in a while, the applications, instead of going to me and my team, will end up with someone else at Rate. Rate has 2,000 loan officers, and I want to make sure that if you want to work with us, you're working with us. Not everybody does things the way that I do, so please text us so we can confirm we received your application. Next, once we receive your application, let's say it comes in at 10 o'clock at night. No one is there, okay? We are not there. Generally, you're gonna get an automatic email that's like, hey, thank you for filling out your application. It's professionally written. There's no spelling errors. It's grammatically perfect. They signed my name. That's not me. That is literally, you know, the bot saying, hey, we got your application. You know it's me if it's like one sentence. Got it. Thank you. That's me. But we want that there. That's good that they have a nice little email that goes out to you. Now what's going to happen, so you fill it out at 10 o'clock at night. In the morning, Sandy comes in. So Sandy comes in at 9 Central. And Sandy's going to look at the applications that came in. She's going to look at the states. And then she's going to assign you to someone on my team. Now, when you're working with my team, you're always working with me, but you're also working with another licensed loan officer. The reason's simple. There's no way that I could do and get it, like, what I really care about is I want to have those deeper conversations with you if you want. Some people don't want to, but a lot of times there's questions or insecurities. That's my wheelhouse. You know, in terms of sending daily rate updates and, the loan summaries, another licensed loan officer can do that. And my team is excellent. So Sandy's going to go through and she's going to go, okay, you're in North Carolina, for example. I'm going to put you with Jen Anderson. Jen Anderson on my team is amazing, guys, amazing. She's been a loan officer for 30 years as well. So Jen and Jolene will reach out. They'll say, hey, we got it. Generally, they're going to send you a basic needs list. They're going to send you a link to Jen's calendar. You're going to pick a time and you're like, ugh, why am I getting on her calendar? I already filled out the application. Am I approved? Here's why. So loan applications, digital mortgages, they're often wrong. That's what I found. You may fill something out, but you may have read like monthly, but put in an annual amount, or the other way. Like I've made the same mistakes and I don't trust the information that comes over. It's that simple. And, if I'm thinking about when I'm talking to a buyer, I always went through the app every single time. Like that's where as a loan officer, we're sitting there. So, you get on Jen's calendar, Jen's going to go through the application. She's going to ask you questions. The reason she's doing this is A, she wants to verify everything's correct. B, sometimes these applications come over and it looks like you don't qualify for a bicycle. But when we talk to you, it's like, oh, I paid that off. I paid that off. I paid that off. Okay, suddenly you qualify, right? Right now, there's so many people getting declined in America by computers because no one is calling them and going through the application. Also, sometimes there can be stuff where it's like, oh, okay, I see you have a new job. How long have you been there? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I put in 3 months, but really I started a month ago. It's a contract job. Wait a second, that's different. The way that we structure your file often is based on those conversations. They're really important, really important. So sometimes people are like, why do I have to talk to you? I filled it out. That's why. It's how we do our job, but also it's because the information that comes over can be wrong a lot of the time. And it's not the app's fault. It's not your fault. It seriously happens. And I've seen this with other lenders as well in their applications. Also, conversations are good, guys. It's good to talk to a person. So she does that. Once you guys are kind of figuring out like, okay, this is where we want to get qualified at. We don't max qualify. So if you fill out the application, you talk to, let's say, Jen or Sam, and you say, yeah, I want to get qualified for a $500,000 purchase price. That's what we're going to do. Now, the next question is, well, wait a second. What if I want to go higher? What if I want to go lower? Guys, we can play with the numbers. What we don't do is we don't max qualify. So what max qualifying is it's when a lender says, hey, here's the most you can qualify for. Dude, that is poison, toxic stuff. We do not do that. And if someone says to me, I want you to max me out, no. You tell me how much you're comfortable paying every single month, and I'll see if you qualify for that. I'm not playing that game. And if you want a lender who will do that, we're not the right people. And the reason I say that is because max qualifying leads to being house poor. I've been there. I will not do it to you. I will always do numbers as you ask, but we will not max qual. Okay? So let us know what you're thinking about. And if, look, sometimes it could be you want 600,000 and it does max qualify you. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. It just means I'm going to say, hey, at 600,000, you are max qualified. Your debt to income's this. Please do a budget because I want you to be okay. Okay? If a lender just gives you a letter and says, here you go, you need to ask like, hey, what's my debt to income? Hey, what are my closing costs? What are my payments? Really watch out for this. So after you have that conversation, the loan goes to processing, okay? The processor, generally it's gonna be Chadwick, Maria, or Mallory. And they're gonna ask for documents, they're gonna review your documents. They're getting all the documents together so that a real human underwriter will review your file. That's the secret special sauce to a large extent. A lot of lending companies don't do this because they don't want their underwriters working on anything that's not a sure paycheck, because we don't charge to do this. But the way that we look at the situation is we want to make sure that you're bulletproof, that you're comfortable, that you're confident. We also want to make sure that you can write the strongest offer, because here's the bottom line. If a real human underwriter has reviewed your file, we have all your documents, and we've approved it, then all we need is for you to get in contract and an appraisal for most loans, right? That's all we need. So you're already ahead of your competition because you've already done all the work. So goes to underwriting. Sometimes the underwriter might have additional questions. They may suspend the loan. Here's the thing, if you're doing this in the pre-approval process, so much less stressful. If you're already in contract on a house and the loan gets suspended, that is stressful, guys. That's stressful for me, that's stressful for you, that's stressful for the underwriter. Everyone's afraid. Let's not do that. We're gonna do our homework before you have money on the line because we wanna make sure that it's a good experience. And if there's any problems, we want to try to fix them. Now look, sometimes a file will go to underwriting and it gets suspended and there's no way to fix it. That's better to know before you have money on the line. Often, if it gets suspended, we just need a couple other things. We tie it together, we make sure the underwriter signs it off, then you can go confidently shop. Okay, that's the thing. It's about confidence. It's also like when you're buying a house, you've got money on the line. You don't want to gamble with it. So it comes back from underwriting. You get an email from, if it's Jen Anderson, Linda, Christina, Amber, Sam, and it's like, hey, congrats, you've been fully underwritten. They're going to want to set up a time with you so that they can go through the numbers with you in terms of closing costs, down payment. Should you be asking the seller to help, answering all those super basic questions. And then it's up to you, but you can book a time with me too. So Dee Dee is a sweetheart. She's like my right hand. And if you say, yeah, I want to talk to Beeston too, Dee Dee gets you on my calendar. You and I, we can talk about anything, guys. A lot of times we look at houses together. I love that. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to look at houses as the person who's bought multiple houses, but also as a lender for 18 years, I've seen some stuff, and go through the pictures and say, hey, look for this. What about this? What about that? Just kind of have those conversations that you often don't get when you're buying a house, but are really helpful. So, closing costs, all that stuff, we're going to go over it. And then you're going to do that with the gals. And then you and I, if you want to chat, I'm never going to force you to talk to me, guys, but I love talking to you. So I'm always happy to answer questions. I've got a lot of clients who are planning to buy multiple properties over time. I'm happy to help game plan, start thinking about that, what I would be looking for, etc. So we also help with a real estate agent if you need one. I usually don't introduce people to a real estate agent until you're fully underwritten because I want to know exactly what we're dealing with, but what you're comfortable with, and that's important. So you can work with any agent you want. We don't have a horse in the race. The only person we care about is you. You are who we work for. But if you're like, I need help with an agent, we're happy to help. Generally, we'll recommend you to someone we've worked with before. If we don't have anyone in the area, then Wendy on my team does research. She looks at statistics, like how many houses they've sold, what's the price point. She also looks at reviews, and then she does interviews. We don't take a referral fee. That's what makes us different. So like Zillow, you click a button to work with one of their agents, they're taking 40% of their paycheck. Dave Ramsey, yeah, he's taking 36% of their paycheck. Veterans United, guess what? Their referred realtor, they're taking a good chunk of their paycheck. On and on and on. We don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because, look, in the new world, you're negotiating with that agent on how much they get paid. Why the heck? I don't want you negotiating with me for a cut of their paycheck. That's horrible. And also, let's be honest, the best real estate agents in the country don't give up their paychecks. So I want you with the best agent possible because you'll have the highest chance of success. So you've been through the process, you did all your homework, you're fully underwritten, you're approved, you've gone through closing costs, you've talked to me maybe, we've gone through houses, we know what to look for, you've got a rock star real estate agent, then you go shopping. Okay, that's my process. And throughout the process, we're always here to answer questions, anything. Dee Dee calls you every few weeks just to check in. She's like the team mom. Sometimes you need to vent. It depends on where you are in the country. But that's how I do it. So yes, we are different. Yes, to get a pre-approval, depending on your situation, I would say a fully underwritten pre-approval right now, probably 7 business days. Depends on how quickly you give us docs. If you do it really quick, I've seen some in 48 hours. But look, my whole team is about helping you into a house that ultimately you can afford for the long run and you're happy with your purchase. That's why we do all this up front, So if that's your vibe, call us 786-933-2077 or fill out the app. But if you're like, I just want a lender where I give them no information and they give me a letter, we're the worst. Don't do it. We're not going to give it to you. I will never put my name on a letter that I do not believe will close. I have to know you're going to close. Okay. So here to help. Questions, comments, as always, reach out. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.